All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are tuning into this Miraculous Monday. My name is Marie Russell, and today I wanted to talk to you about something that's been very present for me in the last few weeks in my life. And I find that I had the opportunity to kind of touch on this in our Mighty Companions circle over the weekend, but one thing that has really been present for me is this. A friend and mentor and coach said to me recently that in our businesses and in our work and in our professions and even in our family lives and personal lives, that when we come from this mindset that 80% of what we're looking to manifest has to do with how we set it up in our mind, and 20% has to do with strategy. So I've heard this from a number of people in the business world. So it's like you're trying to get a project moving and it's 80% mindset and 20% strategy. And I've struggled with this a lot. I've said, well, I've got the mindset going. I've been studying A Course in Miracles for 15 years. I've been practicing and teaching yoga for a long time, leading teacher trainings. I'm good on the mindset. What I need is strategy. And even in that statement, there is an absence of listening and an absence of being authentic. And I want to kind of break this down for us all today. I am with you from a really beautiful place in the world. This is Lake Huron behind me, and I'm up in Canada with my family. And it's been so amazing to take a few days and just retreat. Just be quiet, listening to the sound of the water, listening to the sounds of silence. Really kind of unplugging from this mindset strategy conversation, from this production place of wanting to really create more. And what's come up for me has been really profound in a way, because it has to do with the spiritual concept of generosity. And when I speak about generosity from A Course in Miracles perspective, it is that we give so that we can receive, and that we receive so that we can give. That they are actually the same thing. Now, many of us come from a different mindset, all right? So if we're talking about this 80% mindset, this is some of the stuff that we're working out in terms of how we set up our thinking. And one of them is that if I give something away, then I lose it. And that's the opposite of the way that it really works. The way it works in the universal setup and universal principle and spiritual themes is that if I give you something, I must have it myself. So if I'm going to give you a talk on spiritual themes, on A Course in Miracles, then I must have it myself. Then I must have the opportunity to experience that myself. So being up here for the last few days has been really interesting for me, because I've been in this really creative, productive mode. I have to do more. And that's very egoic. So getting up here, it was so much more space. You can see from where I'm at. It's super quiet. And so I really have had this opportunity to look at my mind and reevaluate the spaciousness that exists in my mind. And in so doing, I'm getting all of this inspiration and all of this connection and all of this oh my God, that was so brilliant. And wanting to write things down and wanting to capture it and post it on social media or wanting to share it with my community. And what's been very consistent for me is that Spirit is telling me to receive. This is for you. And it's been very wow. My level of gratitude has just really exploded. Last week I was really talking about gratitude and how important it is to refrain from comparing ourselves to others. And so it's we might look at our businesses, our families, our homes, or whatever it is, and want it to be in a different place. And in that wanting it to be in a different place, we miss out on the feelings of gratitude. And this really is playing out in my personal life, where it's I'm receiving all of this guidance. I'm feeling so connected to myself, to my spirit. I'm feeling so relieved in so many ways that it's not what I thought it was. And this is interesting because this is a process and a practice that we're continually going through. It's not like it ever really ends, but it's such a gift to take a moment to step back, really truly, and step back and to receive and to feel the love that Spirit has for you, and to feel that you're guided and that your refuge and your safety is in Spirit, is in God. And that's really different than just thinking about it, right? It's like, I can't just think my way into enlightenment. I've got to also feel it. And if I want to give it to you or to anybody else, I've got to first have it, like really have it. And that's what's been so interesting to me, even in the terms of like time. You know, we talk about just being, and we talk about meditation, we talk about yoga on the mat, about being in the present moment. And here's how time works in the present moment. A beautiful idea will come, and I feel the grace, I feel the peace that comes from that idea. And immediately my mind wants to grasp it, wants to hold on to that idea and write it down. And that's a beautiful thing. However, I'm wanting to do that out of fear, out of some perception that I might lose it. And what's happened in the last few days, just kind of really retreating, coming into nature, has been this, that trust is built from this place of being in the present moment, of receiving the guidance and knowing when it's time for you to share it, when it's time for you to write it down in an article or a book or a blog or a social media post, or even just to speak it to a friend, that it will be there for you. And that's what trust is really about. It's about trusting that in the present moment, we're connected to grace, we're connected to peace, and that we need to embrace it and accept it for ourselves. I think so much of my life has been deflecting that and not feeling worthy of my own inner connection and my own innocence and in my own capacity and ability to share at this level. And so within the context of like a teacher training and in the circle, there's that social agreement, right? People come in, they come into a teacher training, and I'm there, and our trainers and facilitators are there to kind of share our expertise, share our love of the practice, which means we've got to have a practice, right? Because we couldn't share it if we didn't have it. However, when it comes to sharing in this context, like in a bigger picture, a little bit more raw, where it's not like eyeball to eyeball. It's more like eyeball to a camera and through the camera to you in this moment. And that's been a different thing. That's been a real growth area for me, because it's invited me to really trust and to really allow and to know that my guidance would be there in those moments. So that the preparation, if you will, that 80% mindset is about allowing and receiving and being a vehicle for love. And the work then, the strategy, is then having this capacity and these tools and this willingness to remove anything unlike love, which anything unlike love would be, I need to do more. That statement, that's all egoic. I'm not doing enough, or I need to control this, or I need to shape this. Whereas it is so much more about allowing it. And I just want to share an example of this from one of our mighty companions in the group who's up for promotion in her career, and it's something that she's worked hard for and she's really excited about, and she really wants it. She really wants the promotion, believes she's going to be really great at it. So in one of the tools we're working on, she has this SMART goal around working on her interview for 2 hours a day. And I had asked her in the group if that's loving. Like, are you preparing for 2 hours a day out of love? And she said yes. And there was still something in me that wasn't quite convinced. And so I dug a little deeper and I said, well, all right, so is it about you getting the job? Like, what would happen if you didn't get the job? And she had said, well, I'm really qualified for this and I really have worked really hard for this. And I know that if I prepare myself for the interview, then I have a higher likelihood of getting it. And I asked her to do this. What if instead of putting our manipulation and our projection and what we want to happen into the meeting, like putting all this pressure onto it, it's like me putting all this pressure onto content or onto all of our projects. If I'm just willing to say, look, I'm here for the love. Whatever the highest good for me and all involved, whatever that is, I'm open to that. Instead of saying to Spirit, to the great creator of the universe and the stars and the moon, this is what I want to happen and you need to do this for me so that I can be happy, we say, listen, you know what would make me happy because you created me. You've programmed already my divine potential into my soul. So to the extent that I connect to that and I'm willing to say, look, you know what would bring me happiness and what would bring me joy. Would you guide me into that? So even in the context of a job interview, instead of going into the interview being like, I'm going to slam this interview and I've prepared and I want this job, I'm going to get it. That's kind of intense, right? Instead of doing that, going, listen, I am here to serve. I am here to use my gifts and talents in whatever way Spirit would have me use them. And if this job is for the greatest good of myself and all involved, I'm open to receiving that. Right? That's very different than strategizing and telling the Spirit, telling it what we want. And for me, and for just Spirit in general, because I do believe that I speak for Spirit, is that is the definition of authenticity. That you're willing to listen, not to what you really want to project into the universe. Yes, it is important to have a vision of your highest self and have a vision of all of the awesome things that you want to bring into the world. But that we are co-creating with an intelligence here that knows how to do these things. Okay? And the problem that we have and the opportunity that we have is to tune into that and to align to that energy rather than our own. Because here's the thing, if we are not actively working towards evaluating ourselves, on embettering ourselves, on becoming more loving human beings, we will default into fear, because fear is what dominates the planet. The fear thinking, fear mindset. This is how we've been conditioned. We came into this planet pure love, and from the time that we arrive, we are conditioned into fear. Fear is something different. Fear is not something we brought with us. Fear is something we learned and we adapted to and we accepted as a mechanism for survival. And so when you decide to step into a spiritual path, what you're really saying is, I'm willing to unlearn how I believe life should be lived, and I'm willing to be taught. I'm willing to be trained. Larry, my yoga mentor, used to say that some people are not trainable. And I was always kind of like, well, Larry, I don't know. I think everybody deserves to be trained. Everybody deserves to be, aligned to this energy. And he would say, absolutely. But the bottom line is not everybody's willing to do that. Not everybody is willing to let go of control. Truly to let go. And for every decision you make and every move you make, to ask, is this aligned to love? Is this aligned to Spirit? Because that is authentic. So I wanted to read for you just a little something from this book. It's all sandy now. It's called The Way of Mastery, and it's I'll speak about it another time, but it's written by the same author as A Course in Miracles, the same voice, the same lineage as A Course in Miracles. And it says this, it says, serve only that voice of truth within yourself. That voice of truth within you is the voice that says, go start a garden today. First you think, oh yes. Then you realize, I don't know how to garden. How am I going to figure this out? But I really want to start a garden. Well, then go start a garden. Some would say this is living from your authenticity. I do not speak of what is authentic as being what the mind thinks. That is a social image. That is not authentic at all. That is a mask, a persona. What is authentic is what you feel at the core and the depth of your being in innocence. What do I mean by that? The innocent heart is not needy. It does not require selected individuals to agree with it. It does not wait until the universe nods its head in approval. It merely knows it is innocent and acts from it. It is not attached to the opinions of the world. And I want to just talk about this for a minute, if you're still with me. The idea is that you are getting inspiration. Go start a garden, right? This is the truth, the inspiration. We get these inspirations like, go lead a yoga retreat. And then we go, well, I don't know anything about that. You know, it's like our ego, our inner child is like, well, I can't do that. I don't know. And the idea is that if we continue to stay in the mindset of, I am aligned to spirit, I am open to guidance, then we will start to attract the people that know how to do the things that we need to get done into our lives. It happens from a very intelligent place, rather than from the place of, I need to make this happen. I need to strategize around this. Okay? The other part that I wanted to talk about is that the innocent heart is not needy. It does not require selected individuals to agree with it. And I'll speak to something very personal, and this has to do with my own cancer journey. And when I decided that I was going to approach this from a mindset perspective, when I decided that I was going to collaborate with the great universe, which is the handwriting of God, I was going to allow its handwriting to form me and to shape me. That was actually a very, on one hand, difficult decision, because I was attached to what selected individuals thought about me. I was quite needy for their approval and their support. However, it was my truth. Like, I felt in my soul, my authentic self, like I could not deny my soul. I at least am that advanced. It doesn't mean I don't go into, oh, I really want your approval, or I really want you to hear me, or I really want your support. That's like my humanness, right? That's the part of me that certainly, exists. We all have that. We all want to be loved by the ones that we love. However, it's not that those people don't love us and that we don't need their approval. It's just that we need to really have our own approval, our own higher self-approval. And so I was guided. I had a trainer and a friend who said to me, what is your inner teacher telling you to do? And the truth was to allow myself to go on this journey and to trust truly that in the present moment, the more I developed spiritually and the more that I paid attention to my spiritual health, my physical health, my emotional health, and my mental health, that I would be able to heal myself with the great spirit, with the great intelligence, that I wouldn't need to get all of the approval from others. So I'm trusting that makes sense and you're still with me. What this is about is really knowing that you are connected and that you are willing to get quiet now and then, and when you're feeling stress and confusion and anxiety, to retreat, to come back to, all right, spirit. It's like I was looking at the windmills yesterday. We're driving through this beautiful countryside and there's like these windmills and they're moving very slow, and it reminded me of the way in which the mind turns. And the Yoga Sutra is really speaking to yoga is that which stops how the mind turns. It's the alternative. My mind is turning in this way of, I need to get approval, I need to be accepted by others, and and I need to prove myself. And it's slowing it down enough. It's like creating this spaciousness so that I can see where my thoughts are. Where is my mindset right now? If manifesting is 80% mindset and my mindset is all in externals, my persona, my mask, my how is the world perceiving me and how am I getting what I need from the outside in, slowing it down enough so that I can actually look at that without any judgment and go, oh, look, I've defaulted back into my conditions. I've defaulted back into my lower level thinking. I have defaulted into a lower vibration and frequency. Am I willing to allow my mind to be healed? And A Course in Miracles teaches us that even just 5 minutes a day allows the Holy Spirit to order our thoughts. And that is so profound. It's like, can I be willing? Listen, I'm a little bit thrown right now. I'm a little bit spinny. Would you reorder my thoughts? And then sitting for 5 minutes or 3 minutes or a moment, because sometimes it can just take a split second. Will you slow down my thoughts and realign me to the thoughts of love? To being empowered and to knowing that I'm guided and that I am a frequency here. I am simply light. I am a part of this. I am the air. I am the ocean. And can I allow the lake and the rivers and the waters and the air and the sun and all of those things, can I identify myself with that rather than the thinking that permeates this planet and the thinking that permeates my brothers and sisters that keeps us all kind of in this space of approval and fear-based, tug of war. Now, there's one more thing I want to say about this in terms of cancer and being authentic and being healthy. And it's this. In Mexico, where I've been living for most of the time, I've shared with very few people that I'm on a cancer journey, that I'm healing myself naturally. And I've shared it with people when it felt purposeful, when it felt like I had a purpose for that. And here in my community in Toledo, I'm in Canada now, but where my family and my friends are and a lot of that, people know that I have cancer. It kind of was like wow, Marie's got cancer. And so since I've been here, there's been a lot of people that have asked me, how are you? And it's a really sweet thing, right? I know that the intention is pure. The intention is really, how are you? However, it's interesting to me because I almost want to say, how are you? Because I'm doing great. I really am. I'm not saying it's easy. But when I listen to my soul, I'm safe. When I listen to the God within me and I stay connected to that and I want only that approval rather than the approval of the world, I'm safe. And when I disconnect from that and I want love from outside me, that's when I suffer. So it's like when people are asking me how are you? How's it going? I say great, but I do want to ask you how are you? Really? How's your health? Spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally? What are the things that you're up to that are attending to you as a human being and for you to evolve as a human being? Because again, if you're not actively working on evolving, you are going to default. It's like working out. If you work out, and your muscles look great, and then you stop working out, what happens? You start to get flabby again. It's like this with the spiritual path. It's a constant day-to-day, moment-to-moment practice that continues to bring health and joy and prosperity into our lives because it is aligning us to the truth of who we are rather than to the illusions of who we think we are. We think we are people that need to get things done. And if we don't get it done a certain way, or if it doesn't happen the way we want it to happen, then we're faulty or guilty or whatever. And what I've learned so much through this cancer odyssey, this just epic journey, is that this is about you and your relationship to that which created you. That is the most important relationship that you have. And so many of us get lost in our other relationships, our romantic relationships, our relationships with our families and our friends and our colleagues and our children. And yes, Spirit teaches us through those relationships. Those are all really rich relationships. But none of them will make sense, and we will strategize and manipulate those relationships to get what we want if we are not first aligning to the truth of who we are. First, to our primary relationship, which is that relationship to our spirit. And I'll leave you with this, that A Course in Miracles teaches us that we have one problem, and that is our belief in separation from our Creator and from each other. That is our one problem. So to the extent that we put our energy into that relationship, like into healing that idea that I'm somehow separate from this beautiful lake behind me, the energy that's in this lake, if I attune myself to that energy, my health is going to skyrocket. And not only my physical health, but my spiritual, emotional, and mental health as well. However, if I am aligned to my persona and my masks and my approval from others, I will suffer. And it's not because God wants to punish you, it's just because it's not true. And when something is not true, it's just not true. Spirit wants your divine happiness. You are programmed for greatness. A tree does not try and grow. It allows itself to grow. What humans have is this intersector. This we're growing, and then we self-sabotage. We're growing, and then we default into our quick thinking, our old programs, and we fall back into I need this job, or I need this relationship, or I need this to make me happy. So the one problem that we had is our belief in separation. And that is what we've been working on. That's what I've been working on personally and professionally, is that even my business, even that, my family, my marriage, all of that needs to be surrendered to a higher power. When we know that we know nothing, that we need do nothing, that's when we do everything and know everything. It's because we aligned with the greater intelligence, and we are less actively trying to interfere with that interface. We allow it to happen. We allow guidance to come through. We constantly, Course in Miracles says, make no decision on your own. Ask your elder brother. Ask for guidance from the great intelligence. And this is really what I want to focus on for us this week. And I know it was a lot, but this is the practice of authenticity, is listening to your soul. And it requires spaciousness. It requires retreat. It requires a change in the way in which the mind turns. So change the way you set up your day. Get out in nature. Do something different today that you don't normally do. Take 3 deep breaths instead of reacting the way you normally react. And reach out to us if there's anything that we can do to support you, which we're here for. This is what we do in yoga off the mat, is learning how to align to that energy on and off the mat. So it's been such an honor to be with you guys this morning. I kind of left we're staying at our friends. They have such a beautiful house, and I ran down here with my books and my phone. I was like, listen, I just want to reach out to our community and share a little bit. And that's what we have today. So lots of love to you from Lake Huron. And I trust you have a beautiful week contemplating these spiritual themes of being authentic, of 80% mindset being about what am I aligned to? Am I aligned to spirit being the guide? That the greatest happiness for myself and others be experienced? That type of thinking rather than I'm trying to get things done. Okay? Lots of love to you. Namaste.